From the ashes of a life low to the beautiful, strong and bold woman with declarations of continuous elevation. We are women who rise, women who rise. With God we succeed in spite of all challenges. Women who rise, women who rise. With our scars and all, we stand bold and tall. Fearfully and wonderfully made. We've learned to walk by faith, leaning and depending on Christ. He will always make a way. We are women who rise, women who rise. With God we succeed in spite of all challenges. Women who rise, we are women who rise. With our scars and all, we stand bold and tall. We continue to rise. Oh yes, we do. We are women who rise. Women who rise. We rise.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Happy Thursday, everybody. Happy Thursday. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year. God is amazing. I'm glad we all made it over. I'm glad I made it over. I'm glad y'all made it over. God is an amazing God. A brand new year, a brand new season, a brand new day. And I'm excited about it. I'm happy to be back here tonight. Another opportunity to hear another testimony, another victory report that we have lined up for you all. This is the day that the Lord has made, y'all. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Like I said, I'm excited to be back here. Another Thursday, another beautiful woman of God that we have lined up to share her testimony with us all. I hope y'all are excited. I hope y'all are, looking forward to the testimony of the beautiful Miss Brittany Hill tonight. She is a beautiful young woman of God. Those of you that know her, you already know what I'm talking about. A beautiful young woman of God, and I'm excited to have her on. I'm excited to have her as the first testimony of this brand new year, the year 2025. So I hope y'all excited. I want to say thank you to every last one of you that are joining us, all of you that shared the flyer, whether you shared it on social media, whether you sent it via text message, whether you just told somebody by word of mouth, however way that you did it, thank you all so much. For those of you that are coming on, logging on, to hear the testimony, thank y'all so much. But while you're doing that, y'all know I always say it, go ahead and get somebody on your mind who you feel or know could use just a little bit more encouragement tonight. Put their name in the comment section, tag them, let them know Women Who Rise, we are on tonight. As a matter of fact, while you're there, go ahead and hit the share button. Y'all know I love for as many people as possible to share in these encouraging and uplifting testimonies. So take a moment, go ahead and hit the share button. You can share it from Facebook tonight. You can share it from YouTube. Whatever you do, be guilty of sharing this testimony because we know it's going to be good every week without fail. God doesn't fail us. He comes in, he encourages us, he uplifts us. He gives us something to hold on to with these testimonies. And I know tonight is going to be no exception. Again, thank you to everybody who are joining. Again, whether you're joining by Facebook, whether you are joining by YouTube tonight, however way you choose to join. If you come back and watch the replay at a later time when you have time, thank you all so much. I also want to take a moment before I bring our beautiful guest on screen with us. I want to take a moment to just say thank you to everybody who has followed the podcast, who has followed on Facebook, who has followed on Instagram, who has followed on YouTube, all of last year, all of 2024. I thank God for everybody that has supported and encouraged the podcast, the platform. Thank you all so much. I want to say a special thank you. I know I did it on social media on December 31st, but I also just want to take the moment while we're live to say thank you To all of the beautiful women of God that shared your testimony on the platform last year in the year 2024. I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Y'all, I wish I could express it the way that I feel it, but I'm going to do the best that I can. Thank you to all of you beautiful women. You know who you are. We know who you are. You know, you can go on Facebook and look at all the women that testify. You can go on YouTube, all the women that testified on last year. Thank y'all so much. If I could, and I may do it one day, if I could like do a little collage of all of the messages, you know, the personal messages in our inbox, the DMs that I've gotten just on last year alone, a lot of, you know, different women, young ladies, older ladies saying how the different testimonies have been so relatable, you know, how they have encouraged, you know, these different women that watch, how they have been, you know, things that they can think on, things that I had a mother saying, oh, I'm going to send this testimony to my daughter. She's dealing with the same thing right now. So just so many different, you know, little messages and feedback that I have gotten throughout the year. I thank God for it. That lets me know that these testimonies are working. That lets me know that these women of God are praying and asking God, what testimony would you have me to give? And not only that, y'all are obeying when he tells you what testimony to share. And from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you. I thank you. I appreciate it. I thank God for each and every one of you. Now, let me get back on track. Tonight, our beautiful, lovely guest, as you all know, is Miss Brittany Hill. And I am going to go ahead and bring her on screen with us tonight. There is our lovely, beautiful guest, Miss Brittany Hill. Y'all already know. Let's go ahead and give her a great big hand clap. Let's go ahead and give her a great big round of applause. A Women Who Rise welcome. This is the first time gracing the platform with us tonight. So let's make her feel welcome. Y'all put your hands together for her real good tonight to say thank you, Brittany, number one, for accepting my invitation to come on the platform to share with us whatever testimony that you feel in your spirit that God is telling you to share with us tonight. I know it's going to be good. We're all excited to hear your testimony. I was looking at, when I posted the flyer on Facebook on Monday, I was looking at one of the comments, and somebody commented and said, she's a beautiful young woman of God. You got a good one on. And I'm like, you know what? To know Brittany is to love Brittany. She's a beautiful young woman of God, living a life sold out to Christ, y'all. And she's doing it for real. Y'all know, anytime I get a younger woman on who I know within my heart, in my spirit, that they ain't playing this. They for real about God. They're for real about their salvation. They loves God with all of her heart. I'm extra happy when I get one of them on, y'all. So we got another one with us tonight, Miss Brittany Hill. So I'm excited. Brittany, how are you doing on this Thursday evening?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited, as you can tell, but let me calm down. Is there anything that you would like to say to greet our viewers before we get your testimony?
Simply, I hope that I say something that encourages you all and uplifts you and just keeps you going on strong in God.
Yes, ma'am. I have no doubt in my mind that's exactly what we're going to receive from you tonight. As I forestated earlier, you know, every testimony that we've had on the podcast, God comes through and he exceeds our expectation. You know, you think you know what a person's going to testify about, even if you heard them before at church or whatever. You're like, oh, I heard them before. I know her testimony already. You don't know what God going to give this woman of God to say to us tonight. They may have a testimony that they have never even told.
Right.
So I'm excited tonight. I told you personally, it's been a while since I've heard you.
It's been a minute.
Some years. So I'm very excited tonight. Yeah. But with that being said, if you are new to this channel tonight, we are Women Who Rise. I am your host, Tiara Randall. We're here live Thursdays, 8:00 p.m. Central Standard Time. I do have a different beautiful woman of God weekly sharing their testimony, all ages, you know, young 20s. I think my youngest one was 17, you know, so I've had all ages of women sharing their testimony of how God has blessed them to rise. And those of you who are familiar with the podcast, you know, I say all the time without fail, one of my favorite scriptures, Peter opened up his mouth and perceived of a truth, that God is no respecter of persons, which simply means the same God that blessed us to rise, He's the same God that can bless you to rise. The same God that saved us, the same God that loves us. He's the same God that loves you. And that's why we're here. That's why we have these beautiful women of God weekly sharing their testimony in hopes of shining a light on what our God is able to do for you also. And as I forestated, our lovely guest, the young and the beautiful Miss Brittany Hill, she is going to share with us her testimony of how God has blessed her to rise. So Brittany, I always start out to all of my guests with the first question of, when you first hear those three words, women who rise, of course, being a young woman, yourself in today's time, being a young saved woman at that can be a very challenging thing. Everything in society points opposite of being young and saved. So when you hear those three words alone, what are the first thoughts that come to your mind?
I'd have to say a woman that does something about her circumstances, regardless of her, or something about her circumstance, regardless of her circumstances. It's not necessarily something that she wants to do, but it's something she has to do in order to change something or make something happen, even if it's not comfortable.
Come on. I like that last part. You say make something happen, even if it's not comfortable. And I appreciate you for pointing that out, because that's not something that you always hear. You don't hear that often. A lot of today's time, people are all about, what makes me comfortable. What suits me.
It's me.
Happy. Me.
Yeah.
If I don't agree with it, then I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
But sometimes, in order to rise, you're gonna have to come out of that place of comfort.
That's right.
And sometimes God will pull you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Go to that next level. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. If you want to go to that next level, if you want to rise, if you want better for your life, if you want things to change, you got to come out of your comfort zone, but you'll be better off for it. So I thank God for it tonight. I want to ask you my next question, Brittany. And I say so often that this is my favorite question, because this is where we get to hear you testify. This is where we get to hear what God has done in your life. But can you share with us a time in your life where you came to your defining moment? And I say so often that, as women, men too, but this is Women Who Rise, we have many defining moments, many testimonies that we can share of times where God stepped in. He made a way. He brought us out. The light shine, and God said, this is the way I want you to go. But can you, if you had to pull one of those testimonies, can you, share with us one of those times where, you were faced with a challenging situation, difficulty, whatever it may be, that brought you to your defining moment, and how did you choose to rise?
Okay. So I'd have to say something that I've dealt with, and I'll try to condense it as much as I can. But something I've dealt with more than half my life is depression. And it wasn't really anything that was really ongoing, I have to say. It was something that was seasonal. Like if something big happened or something tragic happened, then more than likely it was going to put me in some type of depression. And then once I got saved, it wasn't really that, depression bothered me per se, but it was something that, that I sat in, and I wouldn't really let God have his way in my life. I have to say, from dealing with sickness, from dealing with jobs, stress on the job, financially, friendship falling apart, just so many things happening back to back. Even from the past few years, it was something that just was really heavy. But I'd have to say last season, it got so heavy that it physically made me tired. I was so tired to where it felt like if I stood up for, 5-10 minutes, I was already tired. I needed to sit down. I could have just brushed my teeth and I was tired. I could have just went from my car into church and I was tired. Like I wanted to either sleep, I wanted to lay down. Anything from those things, I was tired. I went to my mom about it. I was like, yeah, this is unusual that I'm so tired. And, if I go to my mom about it, usually I don't go to my mom if I have a problem. So it was that serious. So I went to her and I said, yeah, I'm feeling really exhausted pretty much all the time. And to this point, it's kind of worrying me. So we got it checked out. I got some blood tests, and what came back was that my vitamin D was super low, as well as some other things. But that was the biggest thing, and that explained, the tiredness. But I unfortunately let that become a crutch for me. So once that happened, it could have been I could have been at a friend's house, I could have been at my house, but any time that I had some free time, I was gonna lay down or I was gonna sleep. But a lot of that was just me choosing not to fight mentally, spiritually, or emotionally. Like I was just letting everything get to me, and I was just sitting in it. And I'm someone who feels very deeply. So a lot of that was also just me holding on to a lot of pain that I was dealing with beforehand. And it got to a point where one week I was just crying, and I was sad because I had all this emotional pain that I just did not deal with. I was overwhelmed. And one night I cried. I was crying so much that I went to God and I said, God, I want some kind of sign that, you heard me, some kind of sign that you see me, some kind of sign that you just don't want me suffering in this pain that I'm in. And then after that, I can't say that I really felt anything. I did feel like I felt a little relieved since, I got it out. But once I woke up, I asked God again. I was like, hey, God, I want to sign again. It was like a random time that I woke up. I said, I was like, God, I want, I want to hear from you. I want something saying that, you see me, you saw me, you heard me. And then I went back to sleep. Next thing you know, I woke up again for good. And I asked God, I was like, God, I want some kind of sign. And not too long after that, I heard Psalm 34. And I'm not gonna lie to you. In my head, I was like, maybe this is just me, or maybe I'm just, want to be deep. So I doubted myself, and I was like, is this you or is this not? So then all I heard was, do you trust me? So after that, I was like, okay, well, I shut up. And then I went to it. And the verses that stuck out were 4, 6, 15, 17, and 18. It says, I sought the Lord, and he heard me and delivered me from all my fears. This poor man cried, and the Lord heard him and saved him out of all his troubles. The eyes of the Lord are upon the righteous, and his ears are upon their cry. The righteous cry, and the Lord heareth and delivereth them out of all their troubles. The Lord is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart, and saveth such as be of a contrite spirit. So honestly, after that, I went to my prayer closet and I just thanked God as much as I could, because at that point I knew that he heard me. And I honestly can't even tell you how much I told God how much I loved him that day. And honestly, the whole day was great. It was very good. And then next day, all of a sudden, my granddad dies unexpectedly. So, and that was something that put me in a bit of a rabbit hole. So I was just asking God, I was like, what was the reason? I didn't understand. For one, it was 3 days before my birthday. 2, my parents are grieving, or my whole family is grieving, but it was my mom's dad. So it's like, I'm worried about her, during a time that I'm not really someone who really cares about my birthday like that. But at the same time, I'm living, I want to celebrate to an extent. But it's like, I can't even think about me because I'm worried about her. So I didn't deal with any feelings or any grief that I was just feeling, any sadness that I was feeling. I didn't deal with it. I kind of just shoved it down. So next day I went to work, Like nothing happened. And after that, I mean, I kind of just went as normal. Because for one, it was just hard to see my mom grieving, and I felt like I had to be strong for her to an extent, and I just could not let myself feel or cry because somebody had to be strong for her, and I could not see her,
Right.
Like that. So, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Take your time.
Since I felt what I felt while she was grieving, or while we were all grieving, I slept like before. You know how I said I used my my low vitamin D as a crutch. All I did was lay down. If I wasn't crying, if I wasn't feeling, if I wasn't sad, or even if I was sad, all I was doing was laying down. I wasn't praying like I needed to. I wasn't, reading like I needed to. I was still doing it, but it wasn't to the point where God could speak to me and I could talk with and commune with God. So I honestly became lazy spiritually. In the following month, I was out of town. I was supposed to be out of town for a week, and I brought that with me. I brought that same depression with me that I had at home. And usually I'm someone who can like put on a facade. Like if I'm really hurting on the inside, I can most of the time, I can just like laugh it off. When I get back home by myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't take this. But this time I could not hide it at all. And the friends that I was with, they noticed this. But at the same time, like I didn't care enough to change something. I was sitting in it like too long. And that was my problem. So one night, a couple nights before I was supposed to leave, mind you, I'm still doing the same thing. Like every time we had to get together while I'm out of town with my friends, and they came to the house that I was staying at with my friend, I was laying down, I was sleeping, I was falling asleep, or I was just sad and tired. So my friends would say something and they would notice it, but it continued until a couple nights before I was supposed to leave. My friends actually, 3 of my friends actually had a pretty heavy intervention with me. And I won't go into detail about it, but it went on for a few hours. In so many words, they told me that, for one, although, you do have a diagnosis that you're tired, your vitamin D is super low. So yeah, you're going to feel tired. But at the same time, this is indeed the enemy. Like this is the devil trying to get you not to do nothing about what you're in. And at that point, I'm just sitting here like, I don't know what you talk to an extent. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about because I'm tired. If I'm tired, then there's not really anything that I can do about it.
Right.
But there was. So I'm just sitting there like, okay. Like I said, this went on for a good while. I was hurt because, for one, it was 3 friends. It was like 3, and then it was me. So they telling me I need to be delivered. And I know deep down that I need to be delivered. I know I need deliverance. But I just felt like ganged up on. I'm like, okay, so who got me? Like, who got my back? I'm just feeling this.
Right.
It's like we said at the beginning, it's me. But that's not how it was supposed to be.
Right.
But after all of that, even though I was hurt, I felt ganged up on, I felt offended. Very, 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 very deep down, I was grateful. Because I knew that, God didn't want me to stay in what I was in. And he had people care enough about me to say something to me about it. And since it seemed like I wasn't listening to him, he brought some other people in, and they said something to me.
Mm.
So after that, after they left the room, I wasn't gonna let them see me cry. So what I did was, once they left the room, I I was laying down and I just cried. Like I cried like a baby. And I told God, I said, God, I'm sick of myself, because I was sick of dealing with the cycle of depression. And like I said, it wasn't ongoing, but anytime something tragic happened, I was just in it. And I just said, God, when it was a Saturday night and a Sunday morning, of course, we're going to church. So that Saturday night, I said, God, I need help. And when I seek you tomorrow, I want to find you. And that's something that stuck with me until that night that I went to sleep, until the morning. From the night I went to sleep to that morning at church. So when I wake up, getting ready, I can't really talk. I'm still with my friends, the ones that just got on me the night before. So I'm not really talking like that. And it's not that I don't really want to talk. It's just I'm too hurt to talk. Like I felt like Hannah when she was crying, and it just, she couldn't get no words out because she was in so much pain. So I didn't really talk. All I was thinking about was church. I just need to get to the house of the Lord so I can be free. So in Sunday school, we get to church, and there's Sunday school going forth, and the teacher is not necessarily speaking on my situation or what I'm dealing with, but he's talking about witnessing. And I'm feeling convicted, because how am I going to witness to somebody and I'm not delivered myself? It makes no sense. So I'm just sitting in the audience, and I'm honestly holding back tears, because I feel like God, not that he disliked me or hated me, I just felt bad, because how is God gonna use me and I can't even get out of this? Like, this is just ongoing. So that happened, and then I knew that once prayer was gonna go forth after Sunday school, I knew that that was something that I was gonna let God have his way in me during. So prayer is going forth, and the woman of God that was praying, she was rebuking, and she was even encouraging, and even asking God to do what I asked God to do in the night before. And I tell you, I kid you not, as soon as I got down on my knees, I just cried, and I just cried out to God. Everything that was in me came out. And honestly, I feel like God delivered me then. There's another part, but I felt like God delivered me at that point. And I got up, and I could not stop crying, because God literally delivered me as I was on my knees. So after that, there's 2 songs that go forth, but the second song, which was "You Rescued Me," is what tore me up.
Yes.
I just have I don't even know. Like, most of the song, I was crying. And now I feel like that's all I'm saying that I was doing. But when I really appreciate something, all I do is cry. I appreciated God in that moment, because that was personal to me. The night, like how everything happened, it was just so strategic. From me even being depressed before, and the friends that he brought to care enough about me to say something about the trial that I was in, and most importantly, just God hearing me. I was like, yeah, God rescued me for real. So that's something that I appreciated God for. And even that whole service, nobody even preached because God
Mm.
was there. God was there. I mean, he did his thing. He did his thing for real. So even the choir, when they were supposed to sing, they couldn't sing because the spirit was just too high.
Mm-hmm.
And when I looked up after I was still in the spirit, but I looked up and I saw the choir. But the choir, it turned into an altar call. Yeah.
Mm.
So I told God that I wanted him to seal it. And make sure that this was something that, stayed with me for good. So I went down to the altar, and not long after, I was just crying out to God, and I kid you not, I literally felt yokes
Mm.
and chains and everything that I was feeling that came off of me, that fell off of me. And honestly, that is not something that I can put into words. But anybody who knows it's been so heavy before, when God delivers you for real.
Yes.
That's something that you can definitely feel. And
Mm.
from then on, I haven't been the same. Like, even when I got back to my seat after I got after I came from the altar, there were people just encouraging me. There was this one mother that just held me literally after that. And she said something like, she prays that she knows that I got what I needed.
Mm.
And she just held my hand until, I don't know, she was done, but she was praying for me even after I got my deliverance. So that's something that really stuck with me.
I love it. I really don't have much to say. I mean, I'm just like, wow. And one thing I did think about while you were testifying, and so the viewers know I never asked the women what you all are going to, I didn't ask you what you were going to testify about in advance. I had no idea what you were going to testify about.
Mm.
But if I had to take a guess, I would have never guessed that you would testify about dealing with depression. I would have never guessed it. Every time that I have ever saw you, Brittany, I would have never guessed that.
Yeah.
My opinion, every time I saw you, every time you look my way or we catch eyes, you smile. I see you smiling. I see you walking around taking photos. I see you getting your shout on, your praise on real good. I call you the master shouter. I would have never guessed it. And I've said it so many times. That's why it's good to hear, and get testimonies, because it may look one way on the outside.
Totally different on the inside.
And it's not even that that a person is faking it on the outside or just trying to put on or put up a facade. A lot of times a person is doing all they can on the outside just to hold it together and not break down in front of other people.
Yeah.
That's something, when you said that, I'm like, oh, I can definitely relate.
Yeah.
I'm not one. I don't like to.
I don't like crying in front of people.
Yes. Yeah. I'm like, no, I don't want you to see out. Now, when I get home, that's a whole nother story.
Hey, whatever you see, you see.
Yeah, but in front of people, so that goes to show you, it may look one way on the outside, but you never know what a person is battling with. You never know what a person is dealing with on the inside. You don't know what thoughts the enemy are trying to overtake them with.
Yeah.
You don't know, the thoughts that, the devil are trying to tell them, oh, and we know a lot of times we've heard depression, sometimes leads to suicide,
Yeah.
So you never know what a person is dealing with just because they're smiling on the outside, laughing, and a lot of times shouting and giving God praise,
You're surprised how many people shouting and they're depressed. Yeah.
Worshiping, singing, leading songs, and up preaching.
Yeah.
But battling depression when they get home, when they leave the choir stand, when they leave the pulpit.
Yeah.
When they leave from around their friends and even around their family, they get in their car by themselves. Or they go in the bathroom alone and crying so nobody will see them. They go in their bedroom, they go home alone and they're crying, hurting, So I can honestly say, me looking from the outside at you, I never would have guessed it, And that just made me think of the scripture that says all flesh shall see it together.
Yeah.
I thank God, even those hidden battles, God has a way of concealing us.
Yes.
You know, but you all, I dare not pass up this other thing that you said, Brittany. Okay. Number one, you said you have to care enough to want your situation to change. You worded it like this. You said, I didn't care enough to change it. You were using the low, vitamin, efficiency, the deficiency count as a crutch to cover up. You said you didn't care. So I had to, highlight that, if you're going to rise, if you're going to be delivered, if you're going to come out of whatever it is that you're trying to come out of, you have to want to come out.
Yeah.
God will
never give yourself enough.
That's it. Because one thing about it, as badly as God want to deliver us, want to deliver you, want to set you free, he want to step in and make that way. He want to open that door. He not going to do it against your will. And if he knows you don't care for it to happen, your mindset is to give up. Oh, well, whatever will happen, going to happen. You're hindering your own deliverance.
Yeah.
It's like sitting in jail, but holding the key to your freedom.
Exactly.
And you won't get up and, put the key in. And
you in your own way.
You can't be mad at nobody but yourself. You got the key.
Yeah.
So that's it. So I had to point that out. And another thing you said that I have to point out is because we've heard it so many times here on the platform. You had friends, and I loved it. I'm so glad you had friends that were spiritual enough to notice that it was something more than the sickness that you were dealing with. Because, a lot of times the devil will try to use that sickness.
Yeah.
To make you feel like, oh, you got a reason not to pray. You got a reason not to fast. You got a reason not to seek God. Just lay down all day. He'll feed into that. And he'll tell you, everybody, they'll understand because they know you're sick. They know you're going through something. So I thank God that you had friends who were spiritual enough to notice that the enemy is behind this. There's a devil loose, and he's using this situation. He's trying to capitalize on our friends' weakness.
Yeah.
And they had enough spirituality, enough, power, enough soundness of mind to say, we're not gonna let it happen. Yeah. Not to my friend. So I had to point that out because we've heard it. I've lost count of how many times we've heard it here on the platform, the importance of having the right people.
Yeah, it's important.
I'm like, I don't even know how much I can even. I don't know. It's because it makes a difference. And while you were talking about your friends, who set you down and had an intervention with you. And I think, we need to get back to that, your friend, if you see your friend struggling, if God shows it to you, and without a doubt that it's God that showed it to you and that's your friend,
then you got to say something.
Don't sit back. Don't just let the enemy beat them up.
Yeah.
Don't let your friend fall, especially if you see they're struggling, they're not being themselves. That's not them.
Yeah.
Reach out to them, mm-hmm. More than anything, pray for them. Let them know that they have you in their corner and that you're going to help them fight off the devil that's attacking them. Yeah. While you were, talking about your friends, it reminded me of how the Bible talks about the lame man. Yeah. He had those 4 friends that came, and y'all, they wanted to get this man to Jesus, but it was a crowd. So the Bible says they took the roof off. Yeah.
Who else was? Don't even know who else was.
Throw up somebody else roof to get their friend the deliverance that he needed. Do you have friends like that in your life who are? And I believe Apostle Murray, if I'm not mistaken, just a little while ago, maybe a few months ago, he preached a message entitled "I'll Take the Roof Off." Yeah, I believe I'm quoting it right. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Right. I think you're right.
He said, "I'll take the roof off." And you in this season, you got to have friends that are willing to take the roof off for you. Yeah. We don't need people in our lives that's just going to sit back, and watch. We need friends that are an asset. And not only that, we need to be an asset back to our friends. So I couldn't pass up pointing that out, Brittany, because we've heard it time and time again, the importance of having the right people. The importance of having praying.
Yeah. Friends that can discern too. So
friends that have spiritual discernment, who can discern when you're dealing with something that you need help with. Because you clearly, Brittany, you couldn't do it on your own. You needed help with, and it's okay sometimes to need a little extra reinforcement. So I had to point that out. I'm glad you had those friends who were spiritual enough. And you know what, y'all, these are young friends. You know, I know some of her friends, you know, and while she was talking, I was thinking in my head, that was probably her. That was probably her. That was probably her. I'm like, yeah, she sounded like she would pull Brittany to the side and do that. So, these are young women.
Yeah.
They not in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. These are young women in their 20s.
Yeah.
These are young women, young praying women that have a spiritual discernment, that have a relationship with God, that have a prayer life, to be spiritual enough to notice when the enemy is attacking one of your friends. So, I can't say it enough. Surround yourself with the right spiritual people, right spiritual friends. It'll take you even further in life, as opposed to just, I got a friend, but then you have a praying friend.
Yeah, it's no joke.
Friend touch the throne.
Yeah.
So, can your friend rebuke the enemy on your behalf when you're not strong enough to do it for yourself?
Yeah.
Amen. Lastly, Brittany, I wanted to point out how you said when you felt like God delivered you in the moment before service, after Sunday school, when you were praying, you said you felt like God delivered you in that moment. Then you also said you went to the altar call and you wanted God to seal it. You said you wanted to know that your deliverance was permanent. Yeah. And I love that, because you got prayer. God confirmed that this deliverance is permanent. And I had to point that out because I felt like it's important to point out that once God delivers you from the spirit of depression, it can be permanent. You don't have to go back to it.
You don't. You honestly
do not have to let depression come back on you.
You don't.
The deliverance that God provides, if you let him, it can be permanent.
Yeah. And
you don't ever have to pick up or let the devil drop that spirit of depression on you again. God's deliverance is real.
It's very real.
God's deliverance is, if you're not sure about nothing else in your life, you can be sure that once God delivers you, once he rebukes the enemy off of you, it's a permanent, it's a done deal. So I had to, I had to point that out. I'm like, come on, just giving us all kinds of, you literally walked us from how the depression started to how it ended.
Yeah.
I mean, permanent deliverance, it is possible. A lot of people don't think, they think, oh, God save you, son, to give it about 2 weeks, you'll be back to where you. No.
Even during the intervention that my friends had with me, they told me that deliverance doesn't come in pieces.
Come on.
But, it was good. I mean, I was mad, but that was good during that time. But God can deliver you completely.
Mm-hmm. Y'all, deliverance does not, Brittany, deliverance does not come in peace. And again, these are young women that's saying these things, y'all. These are young, saved women that can tell you a thing or two about real deliverance. Yeah. She said deliverance does not come, whoever that friend was, tell that friend I said thank you. Deliverance does not come in pieces.
Yeah.
God can completely deliver you. He can completely say it don't even have to be depression that you're dealing with. You can be a sinner.
Yeah.
And you want it because, nowadays it's real popular for people to say, oh, God can save you, but, it may take some time for him to deliver you from this. It may take a couple months before you stop smoking or before you stop cussing or before you stop doing this. No, if you got a mind to want to be free and if you want to be delivered, God can deliver you instantly.
Yeah.
We've seen him do it too many times. And we quoted the scripture earlier that God is no respecter of persons. We have so many testimonies that we have heard of how God has come in and he's done it for so many people.
Yeah.
So if you're out there and you're not saved, God can do it for you. And it don't take him 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months.
Or years. Or even days.
Contrary to popular belief, it don't take him long to do it. So Brittany is a living testimony tonight. Oh, y'all, I'm encouraged. Let me move on. I mean, just your testimony is a blessing. It really is. But I want to ask you this last question, Brittany. And I know you're gonna give some good encouragement because you're already doing it. But what would be your advice tonight to how can I word this? To that person who is dealing, of course, with depression, what would you say to that person who is using kind of like you were their situation? It may not be a sickness or it could be another type of situation, but they're using it as a crutch, to try to hide the depression or hide not, seeking God, or trying to hide it, make it as an excuse to why they can't serve the Lord, or they can't pray. I can't fast.
Right.
I got this going on. I'm dealing with this, or, like you would say, I'm tired.
Yeah.
What would you say to that person? I guess this is a two-part question. What would you say to that person that's continuing? They feel comfortable using their situation as a crutch, not to be and do what God has called them to be and do. And also, what would you say to that person who sincerely is in a place to where the enemy has placed that spirit of depression on them and they're trying to come out and they don't know how? But what advice would you give them tonight?
Okay. So the first part of the question, I'd have to say anybody who's dealing with any type of depression or anything like that, and they're using something that feeds into it as a crutch, it's an act of, I'll say for me, it was an act of pride not to be honest with my own self about not letting God have his way or letting God deliver me. For one, I wasn't being upfront with God. Like, I wasn't saying, oh God, I need you. God, I need help. God, this is what I'm dealing with. And part of that was pride. I didn't want to be seen as weak in front of God, which honestly does not make sense because he's all seeing and all knowing. So for one, he already knows. He just wants you to put it in front of him. So it's something that he can do something with. But yeah, most of that was just, it was pride. And I didn't know that until I got delivered. So something, honestly, that they would have to do is you would really have to get sick of your own self and be tired of dealing with, you have to be tired of dealing with it. And you have to be honest. You have to be honest enough to let God do something. Because if you don't, then you're stuck. And that's why I was stuck in that cycle, because I wasn't being honest. And it's not to say that I was necessarily sinning, but it was my flesh. And as the Bible says, in your flesh dwelleth no good thing.
That's it.
So me sitting in my flesh is not something that pleases God. And me sitting in my flesh with pride and I not know it, that's no better. So that's something you have to do, is be honest with yourself. That's the only way that God can do something. And I'd have to say the second part, part of the same is honestly pray. Tell God that you need him. Tell God that you need help, because that's the only way that you're going to get out. And even if it's something that's super heavy, you have to gain strength from, whether that be, your word, you praying, and even getting out of yourself. Because sometimes there were at times where I was so inside of myself that I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to hang out. Sometimes I still went to church, but I did not want to go because I was so hurt. So most of that is honestly getting out of yourself and getting out of your flesh. Because the only way God can deliver you is if you're in tune with the Spirit. Yeah.
Whew, Brittany. I mean, I'm encouraged. I really am, and I can't say how much I'm grateful. I can't say enough how much I'm grateful for your testimony, because there are a lot of people, and I'm worded like this: there are a lot of people who are in church, saved, who are battling with the spirit of depression, and they're too ashamed to get the help that they need. They're too ashamed to go get the prayer that they need.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm trying to see how can I word this. I mean, they're ashamed to get the prayer because we feel like, oh, I don't want nobody to know I'm battling with this. I don't want nobody to know I'm dealing with this. So I'll just continue struggling. and eventually I'll handle it the way that I can. I'll try to cope with it the best way I can. So you end up, functioning in dysfunction, and pretty soon it starts to affect every area of your life. There's only so long you can go being depressed. Yeah. Like we said earlier, it leads to depression because we know that the enemy comes to kill, steal, and to destroy. So he's not going to just drop that spirit of depression on you and that's it. The devil going to go away. No. Not Lucifer, Satan that we're familiar with.
Yeah.
Now when his plan is to kill, steal, and to destroy. Exactly. So that depression is going to lead to other things. It's going to lead somewhere worse than just the spirit of depression, and then he'll have a lot of people ashamed to tell anybody I'm dealing with this, or can you pray for me?
Yeah.
I need deliverance from this, so I'm so glad that I can't stress enough how I'm very happy that I'm grateful that you follow the leading of the Lord to give that particular testimony. And I say so often that, the women that come on the podcast, they can choose any testimony to give. Yeah. They can choose pretty testimony, ones that make them, ones that sound, a little bit nicer, ones that don't make people think, oh, she dealt with depression, her, oh my God, not her. Y'all could pick any other testimony to give, You can, let me testify about the car that I got. Let me, all testimonies are welcome. All testimonies are helpful. Yeah. But when God gives it to you to share a testimony like that, it's not just for you.
Yeah.
Somebody is in a place of depression.
Yeah.
And the devil is trying to get them to stay. And like you said earlier, sit in that depression, and feel justified doing so because of my circumstance, my sickness, or my surroundings, things that are around me. But no, Brittany said it earlier. It's not God's will for you to be depressed.
It's not. That's your flesh, whether you want to come to grips with it or not.
Depression is not a fruit of the spirit that I read in my Bible.
It's not.
It's not in there. If it's in there, show it to me. I ain't never read it. And I know anybody else gonna find it. It's not not the King James version.
Nope.
That was for
it's
somebody.
Not in there.
That was for somebody. Praise the Lord. Not the King James version. Them other translations, y'all. People got.
Yeah, it might be in them.
One of them, but the King James version, you're not gonna find it. That means you don't have to be depressed.
You don't.
You don't. And if you are depressed, be honest with yourself. Cry out to God. And the one person you can't fool is God.
Can't. And
like Brittany said, for a little while she was fooling her friends, thinking, she just got a little sickness she's dealing with. The one person you can't fool is God. You can't. He already sees it. He knows all and he sees all. So why not just surrender? Ask him to help you. He stands ready, willing, and able to meet you at the point of your need. And that's what depression, sickness, whatever it is that you may be dealing with or battling with. Let go and let God. He wants to do it anyway.
He does. Like
Brittany said, you have to denounce your pride and be honest with God. Be honest with yourself. Only then can you get the deliverance that you truly need. So, amen. I'm grateful, Brittany. Like I said earlier, a beautiful, beautiful young woman of God, and I'm grateful for your testimony, Brittany. I have enjoyed you. You have encouraged the Women Who Rise platform tonight. And I'm so grateful for it because I feel like going into this new year, there are a lot of goals that we have. There are a lot of things that we want to do. We want to go higher in God. We want to do better, be a greater witness, be more effective spiritually. You can't do none of that if you're walking around sitting in depression.
You can't.
Not in faith. God don't even want you up operating in depression. Yeah. There's only so much effect. There's only so effective that you can be, up depressed, singing depressed. And no, you can sing free. You can sing delivered. You can preach delivered. You can witness delivered.
Yeah.
So I thank God for it. I feel like God he's setting us up for a great year,
Amen.
For a year where we can really be happy on the outside.
Yeah.
And on the inside.
Got joy. Yeah.
Not just on the outside when everybody else is around you smiling. Yeah. No, you can take that same happiness, that same smile. You can take that home when ain't nobody else around.
You sure can.
As opposed to crying your eyes out every single night. I'm just saying.
No, you're right.
That's the kind of God we serve, And he's able to do it. I don't think it's his will that we walk around depressed and sad.
No, it's not.
So, amen. I love it tonight. Let me calm down. Viewers, if you have enjoyed Miss Brittany Hill's testimony tonight, y'all already know. Let's go ahead and give her a great big hand clap, a great big round of applause. Like I said, this is a young woman, y'all. You're still in your 20s, right? In her 20s.
I am.
I'm about to give you like 29. She's younger than me, but she's much younger than that. She's very mature for her age.
Thank you.
She really is. So give this young woman of God a great big hand clap. I mean, put your hands together real good in the comment section. Some of you are already doing it. So give her a great big hand clap just to say thank you, Brittany, for being bold enough to share your testimony, letting us know what God has done for you. He's able to do the same thing.
Yes, he is.
For the rest of us, for anybody else who's dealing with depression, use Brittany's testimony tonight. Take it personal. God can do it for you. If you have not done so, go ahead and hit the share button tonight. Somebody needs Brittany's testimony. Share it. Let them know. If you're sitting in depression, God wants you to get up and get out of it.
Get up.
Get up and get out. I mean, you've been there too long. Evict yourself.
Yeah, that's good.
It's time to get up and get out of it. We got work to do. We got souls to win. We want to make an impact. You can't do it sitting in depression. So share this testimony. You can share it from Facebook. You can share it from YouTube. You can send a personal link to somebody via text message. Whatever you do, be guilty of sharing this testimony. It is definitely worth sharing. I love it. God is good. With that being said, I am going to let you all go for tonight, but y'all know we will be back same time next week, Thursday, 8:00 p.m. Central Standard Time. I have another beautiful woman of God, y'all, lined up. She is ready to share her testimony. She already got her testimony on her mind. She's ready to share it. It's going to be good. A powerful woman of God, y'all, that I have lined up for you all. I'm excited. I'll let you all know on Monday who our guest for next week is going to be. Until then, don't forget to share this beautiful testimony. I love you all. Again, Brittany, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I love you all. Again, Happy New Year, everybody. We love you all. We thank God for you all. You all have a wonderful night. We love you all. Good night, everybody.
We are women who rise. Women who rise. With God we succeed. In spite of all challenges. Women who rise. We are women who rise. With our scars and all. We stand bold and tall. We continue to rise. Oh yes, we do. We are women who rise. Women who rise.